Oh, hey, Ara.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, question. I noticed a big film crew out there.
Yeah.
But what were you doing?
Big day, got to shoot. Decided to get in on this whole thing of the Tide Pod Challenge. So just took care of that. No problem. Super easy. I don't even know what the big deal is about.
That is so dangerous. I'm sure you've heard how dangerous this is.
What?
Well, how many did you get in your mouth?
Mouth?
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Hey folks, welcome to RQ the Podcast, episode 10, the only podcast / vodcast.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know either, but where we will talk about our past episodes from the hit show.
YouTube show,
Requel. In this episode, which is, again, episode 10, we are going to talk about Cool Runnings. Not necessarily the movie, Ara, but the making of the episode that we had done probably, 5 years ago? 4 years ago?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, 2018. Wow, 5 years ago. So,
Someone would call it a rewatch podcast.
Sure. We do rewatch these, so you do not have to.
Exactly, that's our tag.
And this week, it's warm. So, talking about a movie that takes place in the cold. Calgary, I believe, is where it took place. I think so. That was the 88 Olympics.
Right? Olympics.
Yeah.
Calgary is in Canada.
Yes.
Not the United States.
No. Cool Runnings is a 1993 movie that stars John Candy. Mm-hmm. Also stars an actor named Leon and Doug E. Doug. Do you remember him?
No.
He was pretty popular back in the 90s. But it is a
I
Disney...
know the name, but I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
Doug E. Doug.
I feel like he was in a number of things back then. Family-friendly kind of things.
Sure.
Leon, of course, was also in another movie that I have talked to you about before, Cliffhanger. Played a bad guy.
Where was my DVD? You're supposed to bring that.
I forgot it.
God damn it.
I know.
It's fine.
But as a Disney movie, we did not... I don't think we had done a Disney movie at this point.
No way.
No. And the only reason we really decided to talk about Cool Runnings was because of the Olympics, and it was it was in that time frame, 80s and 90s type movies.
We figured there were going to be so many people searching for Olympic related content that naturally ours would be bumped up to the top.
The very top.
Not quite the case.
No.
We did get a couple of angry comments on that video.
Yeah, people seem to they just don't read those descriptions, and
similar to my cousin Vinny, they were expecting one thing and they got something completely different.
Yeah. So the cold open, very appropriate for this episode.
It's almost a double cold opening.
Yes. So the first one was the Tide Pod Challenge, which at that point was still somewhat of a relevant thing, which I do have to remind you. Mm-hmm. We were at the store earlier today, and I noticed that Tide Pods are still behind lock and key.
Are you serious?
Still, at least in the store we were in.
Wow.
Still behind there because kids be kids.
We'll eat anything.
Right.
That's colorful.
So Tide Pod Challenge.
I really like that. I like both of our performances in that.
I had so much trouble getting through that.
As we saw in the outtakes, yeah.
Yeah, the outtakes, if you haven't had a chance, outtakes in this particular episode were very strong. Really showing how challenging it is to actually get through one of these episodes.
I'm very happy with my performance in that scene. And I usually don't say that too often, but no. I think the timing, everything between us was perfect. Maybe it was because we did it 20 times, but it was funny.
But to this end, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but this was something that we had gone over beforehand.
Yeah.
Even so, I was not able to keep that straight face.
You couldn't say, how many did you get in your mouth?
Yeah.
I'm going to get on this big thing right now, the Tide Pod Challenge, so just did that.
Oh, that's really dangerous.
It was easy.
How many did you get in your mouth?
Matt, wait. No.
How many did you get in your... How many did you get in your mouth?
We ended up in the wrong Korea, which...
We did.
We're not the first to do that. It happens.
No, but we did have a great backdrop.
Yeah.
The giant hotel, which if you notice every other building around that area looks very not as well maintained, a little dilapidated, but it did have that like quality North Korea aspect to it.
I was obsessed with that hotel and the fact that it was never completed. I kept referencing that.
It's such a weird looking building.
Yeah.
Architecture of...
Architecture is not my strong point, but...
it's not mine.
As a Monday morning architect, I would say maybe not that design.
It stands out.
It does.
It does. Looks like a little rocket ship.
It's a big spire.
Big, yeah. Yeah. We didn't even show the top of it is that big.
That's how big it is.
Yeah. So we decided that that would make an appropriate backdrop for our episode in which we would try to figure out where we were, because in this point we are still playing pretty inept people.
Yeah.
When in doubt, go inept.
And make fun of North Korea.
Right. Being in North Korea and thinking about, what would be a good Olympic movie came to, like we were saying, Cool Runnings, which was a 90s movie, easily, something that we could talk about just to hang our story beats on. And I think that became more common with us at this point. We would talk about a movie sometimes more than others, but it was just what is something that's kind of in common with what we're talking about? And it was the Olympics. That was our through line. We needed a movie that dealt with the Olympics. There we go. And it was simple for us because we had a working understanding of that movie. I think, obviously, you'd said you'd seen it a couple times in your life. I had seen it many times in my life, and I thought, yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun and cool, and, people, it's crowd pleaser, right? So we did pick Qatar as the country where we would, once again, a sport that would not be known for that country.
Right, just like the movie, let's go to the hottest, flattest place on earth and make it about a downhill skiing team. Just trying to get into the Olympics.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Brilliant. It took a whole 3 minutes of planning.
Yeah. And, but what was actually brilliant were who are we going to get to play? Because we're kind of bringing that into this.
Right, the coach.
First talking about Mike Myers, then Dana Carvey, and then Louis Anderson. Yeah. And then at that point, it's like Louis Anderson would be perfect. It's kind of the same size as a John Candy would be.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Both of them.
Jeez.
Yes. Wow.
Two very funny men.
And your Louis Anderson impersonation.
If you could call it that.
But it was in the spirit of Louis Anderson.
And it was, I mean, in rewatching it, I could tell that part was improvised, just because of how much I'm laughing at myself.
Yeah.
I'm Louis Anderson. I'm the coach of the cross-country Qatari skiing team. And then I go downhill skiing team. I love Louis Anderson.
I'm Louis Anderson. I'm the coach of the Qatari cross-country skiing team.
Downhill skiing.
Downhill skiing team.
Can you imagine the Louis Anderson, the coach of the Qatari downhill skiing team? How could that be bad?
All right, all aboard.
As we have now wrapped up 10 episodes and dabbled a little bit in the idea of where would you place this?
Right.
We didn't come up with any solid list, and it's not that I'm trying to come up with a solid list right now.
But you are. You said that off camera.
I did say...
You say that you do like lists now.
I do like lists, but...
Not list, but lists.
Lists.
He was a very good piano player. Arguably the best, is what they said. What?
Chopin's pretty good.
Better than Liszt? No way.
Well, I understand that Liszt had very big hands.
He did have large hands.
That's why a lot of his music is...
He also had a lot of big moles on his face.
I did not hear that.
Yeah, a lot of big ones.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Are you making that up?
Have you seen him?
No.
He's got like a whole forest growing over here.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I have to check that out.
He was very popular with the ladies.
Was he?
Because of his big hands.
I don't...
No, back then, if you could play piano, you're getting all the ladies.
Speaking of Liszt...
Liszt was arguably probably the best piano player. Probably better than Beethoven, who's pretty damn good too. Do you think Chopin was the best?
People say he was pretty good.
He just used a flowery language.
There's a lot of good... Look, we have discussed this. Okay. It's not how fast you play. It's how you play.
Yes. Story of my life.
So, people like Rachmaninoff, people like Liszt, people like Chopin. Mm-hmm. Did Debussy play piano?
Debussy, sure.
Like, it's the... What does the music say? Now, Liszt's music is... Some of it's pretty bombastic, you know?
Also really famous for just rearranging other people's music. And that's fine.
He could compose...
He's like a cover guy. He like doing covers. He's like the Limp Bizkit of composers.
The Axl Rose.
He's the Axl Rose of composers. I'll show you a picture. He's got a bunch of stuff on his face, which is fun.
Speaking of
Still
Liszt...
got laid, yeah.
What I had meant, or what I was referring to about like not making like a list, a solid list, was they could change places. So if last video that I remember making any reference to, where would you put this?
Right.
Was the Misery episode. We might have done it with Swingers, I don't remember. But I remember with the Misery episode, I had said, yeah, it's not my favorite. I don't hate it. I don't mean to, rag on it. But now, in retrospect, I feel like the Misery episode is probably my favorite of the ones that we've looked at so far.
Interesting.
And I feel the reason why it's one of my favorites is because it does incorporate things that would later be an element of the Honey Wagon show.
Fair. Sure. The parody and the...
Parody. There would, of course, be the phone call. This episode does not have a phone call. And I think direct retaliation from the Misery video, where we had a very long phone call, and then the Swingers episode where we had 20 phone calls. So we were like, let's nix the whole phone call bit.
Is that really what we said?
I don't think that's what we said, but just curious that we have no phone calls in this whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't even think that we wrote it in there that we would have a phone call.
It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, if we had to give them numerical values out of 10, I would probably give this one like an 8 out of 10. It's like a B minus, maybe a solid B. I definitely think Swingers is probably better than this one, mainly because of the strength of the phone calls in Swingers. I don't know if it's better than Misery. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't love this episode, but I like it. And I don't know why that is. I feel like there isn't really just... Other than... I mean, I love the opening. I thought the opening was solid.
Yeah.
I thought the Louis Anderson bit was solid.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where it was a movie that neither of us really cared that much about. So that's one thing you can kind of tell. But also, there isn't really much that happened. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't my favorite. I would probably put both Misery and Swingers above this one.
That's what I have. I mean, I listed it out, with Misery being on top, Swingers being second, My Cousin Vinny is third, Princess Bride is fourth.
Oh, wow.
Cool Runnings is fifth.
Interesting.
Holiday Special and Halloween interchangeable, so for 6 and 7. Big Trouble is 8. And Back to the Future is 9.
Big
and Big
Last,
is 10.
Of course, yeah. That's a pretty good order. I see and understand and would probably agree with that. That's pretty solid.
I do think on the back 5, things get a little bit muddled where it's pretty gray. I think that they're all interchangeable. I think it's us getting our feet into that world. It's kind of understanding, the editing. It's understanding how to use music. It's understanding just, what do you keep, what do you not keep. But I still say that Misery for right now is top. And that's okay. That's okay. And I think that will definitely change.
Absolutely.
We get into the later things and just having more fun.
I haven't gotten to season 2 yet.
But we also, I think at this point, we're making a decision to let's be done with Requel for the season and let's try some new stuff. And I think you will start to see that a lot more with White Man Can't Jump, because that'll be an episode in which it is getting out of the seats, the chairs. It's costumes. It's going back in time. It's all that stuff.
And that's the season closer, right?
It is.
Yeah. Well, all around, an enjoyable episode. Mm-hmm. I had fun rewatching it.
Yeah.
And
it was fun.
It is very much of its time.
Yeah.
And rest in peace, Louis Anderson and
John Candy,
North Korea. Oh.
All right, folks. Thank you very much for again tuning in with us. We did do it.
It only took 2
weeks.
2 weeks
to shoot this.
This is our second time doing this.
15-minute long episode.
My fault.
No, it's fine. It's good. But this is the episode 10 of RQ, the podcast, talking about Cool Runnings. Thank you very much for watching, listening. We'll take all we can get. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. See, this is what happens.
God damn it. What's going on today?
We're going to keep that in, folks.
All sorts of noises, sneezes.
Anyway, we will see you when we see you. And
as I like to say, we'll see you at the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make that happen.
Good.
Is that a thing? Did I invent that?
I think you invented it.
Nice.
That's an original.
Yes. It's not like Siskel or Ebert.
No.
That wasn't their catchphrase. I invented a catchphrase?